Welcome back, sweet audience. I'm Tal, the devious bunny, reading you a story, accompanied by an evil hammy named Knightley. Uh, last time on Just Like a Date Sim by Pearl, we got an in-depth look at our 5 challengers, laying out their likes, dislikes, and more to get an edge on getting them to fall in love with us. Now we're jumping into Chapter 6, Bribed by Food, starting Katashi's route. Oh dear. Um, and for just a background on like the overarching plot, we accidentally made a wish that made 5 of the hottest boys in school fall in love with us, and we that was a big no-no. We didn't want to do that, and now we're trying to undo the wish. And the love god is an asshole and wants us to go through some challenges first. Um, all right, and I guess we'll jump right into it.
All right, easy. We'll start with Katashi, Hana chirped.
Katashi, you questioned. Why him?
The demand for him was high, Hana replied.
Oh, fourth wall. I love you so. What? What? You deadpanned.
Katashi is a nice boy that can be bribed with food, Hana tried again, so that was the reason.
I think you're forgetting something. I can't cook, you exclaimed.
I don't care if it's homemade, Hana argued.
Yeah, but I'm not made of money. I can't buy him food every day, you exclaimed.
Learn how to cook. Geez, why are you so against this? Hana pouted.
I'm not against this, you amended. It's just, I don't know how to even
I
begin
can
approaching
help
him.
you. I'll get better at it. Hana's voice was softer. I've been doing this for a long, long time. I think I can manage helping you seduce some delinquent with a heart of gold.
Okay, you sighed. How are we gonna go about doing this?
All right, you're going to go up and introduce yourself to him.
That's not a good idea, you frowned.
Of course it is.
You
It's a
lean
good
back in
idea.
your You lean back in your chair. I can't just walk up to someone for no reason and introduce myself. It's That'd be weird and creepy, especially since we're in the same class, so he probably already knows who I am.
It's not weird and creepy.
It is, you insisted. I gotta come at this from a different approach. He may be a nice guy, but he's not the type to befriend just anyone. I need a way to get to know him without coming on too strong. Obviously, I'll need to start talking to him more in class, but that's not good enough. An idea struck you. So ingenious it sounded like a plot from a shoujo manga. Actually, maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all. He never brings lunch, right? I'm gonna ask Obasan to help make an extra lunch for him, you decided.
Oh, and then you'll give it to him in a grand romantic gesture, and Hana gushed.
No, you interrupted.
What? Hana blinked.
I'm going to put it in the shoe locker with a note, you beamed.
And what then? You think he'll start the sweet correspondence with you over the letters, and then you'll keep giving him a nice lunch every day until he fell in love with you, the person writing the letters, and just had to find you. But of course, he'd somehow already like the real you, so he would be having an internal crisis about it,
Oh,
and he'd
shut up.
find all about it, and along and confess. That about sum it up? Hana frowned.
Shut up. It sounds cute though. You were ashamed to admit that's exactly what you were thinking. It sounded dumb when she said it. No, you trailed off.
Right. Well, I approve of the food part of the plan, but you're giving it to him in person. Say something like, "I noticed you never bring lunch, so I brought you some."
He's gonna think I poisoned him or something, you whined. But you intended to follow through with Hana's plan. It was what made the most sense. She was right about giving food face to face. Trying to give him food without him even knowing who it came from would not be a good way to start a relationship with him, and he probably wouldn't be much interested in a person that couldn't even do it to his face.
Well, better get cooking if you want to make his lunch. Hana leaned back in the air, just floating there.
Somehow it annoyed you. You noticed the little fairies from before were gone, so as you exited the door, you thought to ask, what happened to those fairies?
Oh, them? Hana snorted as she floated along with you. Those are just some helpers given to me by Bensai Ten-sama. I don't need them right now, so I dismissed them.
You were almost curious about what she could have possibly needed them for before, but you didn't really want to know that all that badly. You took your steps 2 at a time, just to get this over with. You could see Kana leaning on the kitchen table, painting her nails, no doubt infuriating her mother. It was now or never. Obasan? You asked, your voice a little more nervous than you expected. Kana looked at you with interest, but her attention almost immediately went back to her nails, pale pink, So characteristic of her. Makoto looked up from where she was laying out her ingredients to begin working on the lunches tomorrow. She peered up at you, an almost knowing smile on her face, as though she anticipated what you were about to ask. You didn't like the implications of that, but whatever. Oh,
Yes? Makoto smirked. She looked just so expectant.
your throat constricted. Do you think you could help me make an extra lunch for tomorrow? Kana burst from her seat, no longer caring about her nails. An extra lunch? What's this about? Is
Uh,
this why you've been
yeah.
acting so weird lately? But Kana was grinning. Good lord, this family was crazy. Makoto smiled gently, but there was something sinister about it.
Is this about a boy?
They were both waiting for answers, and you felt sick to your stomach. Should you just say yes? They looked like that was the answer they wanted, and you knew Kana would just see the truth in her own eyes the following day. You sighed. Yes. Really? Who? Kana's squeal was so loud it shook the house.
Oh, nice family, Hana snorted, but she looked thoroughly entertained. Now, Kana-chan. Let her tell us in her own time, Makoto smiled. Yes, I'll help you prepare an extra lunch, and we'll make it so delicious he'll just have to fall for you instantly. For our sake, I hope that's true, Hana laughed.
You just shook your head. What a wild time. The following day, you had an extra lunch actually completed. Oh, the following day you had an extra lunch and actually completed homework, much to your everlasting joy. Plus, you intend to actually go to class today. You noticed Katashi standing not too far off. Not too far off as you entered the school, getting lectured by a teacher about something. Probably the piercings. They were too flashy, but either way, Katashi didn't seem to be listening much anyway. You debated whether or not just to give Katashi the lunch then, since Katashi had a tendency to skip class from time to time. But then when the teacher started dragging him to the building, you knew that would be impossible for the poor lad. Probably for the best. Giving it to him right then and there would have been a little strange. Best to wait till lunch, or at least before class. So, who's the mystery guy? Kana asked again. You had endured her endless badgering since the night before, and it was getting exhausting. You knew she would flip out if oh, you knew she would flip out if she knew who you were seducing. So you're being very tight-lipped about the whole thing, even though you knew your silence was frustrating her. She had still gone out of her way to with your hair and makeup that day, making you look extra pretty, but not like you were trying too hard. You appreciated her support. You see, you replied. Kana huffed. You'll see, you replied. Kana huffed, but didn't bother asking again.
Oh, thank heavens. I thought that girl would never shut up, Hana groaned miserably. How do you stand that every day?
Aside from the general fondness, patience. Lots and lots of patience. The two of you made it to your class. Kirie was already there, but Suzuha was missing. That was fine. Suzuha was almost always late. Almost. You gave Kana a look warning her to keep your crush a secret. You knew Kirie wasn't likely to spread rumors, but Kana's voice carried, and if she said anything, the entire class would probably hear it. Kana obliged you. For all of her problems, she was a good friend. Kirie-chan. Kana whined instead. Let me copy your math homework.
I thought you did it already, Kirie replied flatly.
I did, but you know I'm bad at it. I don't want to fail, Kana complained.
If you learn the material, you'll just end up failing the exams, Kirie muttered, but she handed her workbook to Kana anyway.
With both friends occupied, you just looked towards the door, waiting for Katashi to enter. With the teacher up on him like that, you knew Katashi would have the sense to stay the whole day. The last thing he needed was to get suspended. From what you read, you knew his mother would not appreciate that kind of behavior from her son. In the nick of time, Suzuha slammed through the door, breathing heavily but beaming. Aha, made it.
Tachi, you want to be Suzuha?
I want to be Suzuha, but you can take Kana. You take the girly girls, and I can take the sexy.
Okay. Sexy wait. Then somehow I'm
the
still
mature.
Hana.
Yes, your voice for Hana is much. I'm
You're
like
the cool girls.
I'm more of a brutish person. Made it! She cheered loudly and skipped over to her seat. You're beginning to worry that Katashi skipped after all. When he slouched in, most people didn't pay him much attention, aside from a few uncomfortable, frightening looks his way, and some students shifting a bit. You frowned. Sure, he had a bit of a scary face, but he wasn't evil. Katashi was a delinquent, but you never heard of him picking on regular students. He didn't act much like a Yankee, he was just quiet and brooding and minding his own business. You felt a little bad. Now, you had never noticed how alone he looked before. He took a seat across the room away from you. You couldn't help but stare at him, eyebrows furrowed in concentration, and thinking about how you were going to get him to fall for you. Kana was still copying Kirie's homework, but you could feel Suzuha's burning gaze on your back. She was suspecting something and would likely bring it up soon. Luck bring it up soon. Luckily, your homeroom teacher entered just before she could. He kept staring at Katashi through the morning announcements. Nothing all that important anyway. But this guy with his whole life ahead of him. What would happen to him if you failed? He deserved better than the pain that would cause. That would cause. Katashi must have felt your eyes because he turned to see you staring at him. Shit, there was no playing this one off. It would have been more awkward to continue staring, so you just flushed and averted your gaze, suddenly very intent on the morning announcements.
Wow, very smooth, Hana laughed.
Oh, how you
Oh,
wanted to
how
tell her
yeah.
shut up.
No, seriously, good job. You got his attention. Now he keeps looking over here.
Probably because he thinks I'm a weirdo, you wrote in your notebook.
Or maybe, Hana smiled, because you're the first person in this class to not look at him like he's a terrifying monster.
Oh my god, blushes. Ah, you didn't know the
Hmm.
answer. Classes went by at a pace of a snail, mostly because they were boring, but also because you were incredibly nervous. You were suddenly very grateful that you hadn't just given him lunch earlier and gotten it over with. What if he thought it was weird? What if, in spite of what his journal entry said, he was mean to you? God, there were just too many variables. You almost wanted class to pass even slower, just so you wouldn't have to give Katashi the lunch you made him. You had half a mind not to give it to him at all, but when you thought of your short time limit, that idea was quickly thrown out the window. You would give Katashi the lunch, and you would make him fall for you. Damn it! Lunch, mercifully, arrived, and before Katashi could leave the room or your friends could badger you, you stood up, carrying the extra bento with you, and you strutted over to Katashi's desk with a purpose. The classroom seemed to go still, and you wondered why the hell they even cared so much. If it was anyone else, no one will bat an eyelash. You stared down at Katashi, trying not to look too threatening, though you doubted it, considering the blush across your cheeks. You thrust your arm out to offer him the lunch. Bewildered, Katashi caught it as you dropped it. I threw it at
Yeah, I think we just kind of thrust it towards him, like,
him?
yeah, we
Like a
just
mic
fucking
drop?
decked him in the face with it. That's even funny. We do. We're just like, take it.
Oh my god, take it. Bewildered, Katashi caught it as you dropped it, and you said, I noticed you never bring lunch, so I thought I would make you one. Oh my gosh, do you want to take over narration so I can voice Katashi?
Okay. Katashi stared up at you for a good moment, as though deciphering your intentions, before muttering a soft but thankful or thoughtful.
Thanks.
But you weren't done there. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want to eat or anything you don't like, okay? Now Katashi looked really confused.
You don't have to do this again.
I know, you beamed. Your voice came out a little bit of a nervous croak. But I want to. You really should be eating lunch every day, so I don't mind bringing you one. So just let me know what dishes are your favorite if there's anything you don't want to eat, okay? And you tried to walk confidently back to your seat, but it ended up being more of a nervous wobble. It went better than expected, but you were still petrified. You would have asked to eat with him, but that was probably moving too fast, and that would have been a lot weirder than making someone lunch. You needed to take this slow. You couldn't afford any screw ups. Smart move, not asking to eat with him, Hana confirmed your suspicions. It wouldn't have ruined your chances, but you two aren't close enough yet for that to have worked out in your favor. I'd give it another week or so of making lunches before you make that request. Try to slowly build up his interest in you. Oh, and try to get him to walk with you home within the next week or so. So start thinking of conversation topics.
So
Um,
that's who you
um,
made the extra lunch for? Kana whisper yelled, eyes practically bugging out of her head.
you weren't sure what answer she was expecting, so you just shrugged. This seemed to frustrate Kana even more, because she looked about ready to strangle you. I didn't know you liked someone, Kitty commented cordially, taking a bite of her rice.
How are you so calm about this? Kana seethed, turning her rage to the blonde girl by her side. She can do whatever she wants, Suzuha snorted. But I'm surprised you're into him after of all people. You know he's not the type to save kittens from trees, right?
He actually was, but you weren't going to tell them that. You just shrugged again.
Give me more than that, Kana snapped. A reason to like him.
You were prepared to tell him that your act had been out of kindness and not because of any sort of fondness, but Kirie actually beat you to it. It's not as bad as you guys think. Remember when those guys were hustling me? Katashi-kun was the one who got them to stop, and he didn't even ask for anything in return.
Oh yeah, that's true, Suzuha recalled. You're missing the point here, Kana argued. It doesn't matter how nice he is, he still picks fights with people and attracts the wrong crowd.
Finally, you got a word in. I appreciate your concern, Kana, but you're blowing things out of proportion.
But... Oh, enough, Kana. She can date who she wants. Suzuha actually looked annoyed.
Kana clammed her mouth shut and quietly went back to work on her bento. You felt a little bad that she got yelled at, but you couldn't afford to deal with Kana's disapproval. You didn't need your best friend as an obstacle, not when so much was at stake. Kana quickly bounced back and started a different conversation, but you could hear the hurt in her voice. You knew you would have to talk about this with Kana later, but you couldn't bring it up for now. You quickly picked at your bento, glancing over at Katashi's desk to see he was gone. Your stomach clenched nervously. But at least he'd taken the bento with him. Maybe he would actually tell you what kind of side dishes he wanted in the future. Somehow you doubted it, though. You had a weird feeling about what would happen next. Not only that, but you'd managed to turn Kana, probably your only ally besides Hana, against you. You couldn't say you liked how she was stereotyping and judging Katashi, but you knew where she was coming from. She was just worried about you getting sucked up into Katashi's lifestyle, afraid that if you dated him, rival gangs could have tried to use you to hurt him or something. It was an impasse, or I believe that's how you pronounce it, to say the least, but you fully intended to deal with it. You picked apart at your bento until lunch ended, and class began again.
No.
Katashi never came back. Anna
No.
pouted about it quite a bit. Her lower lip jutted out in frustration. You didn't know what difference it would have made. It's not like Hana could have somehow forced the two of you together during class. It would probably be for the best, anyhow, at least for now. Classes went by at the pace of a tortoise, no matter how cliche a description that might have been, so you were beyond thrilled when they were over. You still had club activities, but you really wanted to at least catch Katashi before he left and ask him what side dishes he wanted. Your heart clenched when you saw Kana coldly ignore you and exit the
Aw.
classroom, but you didn't have time to deal with her. You would have more than enough time to talk to her about it later on. One of the pluses of being roommates. Mm. But you must not have accounted for the fact that Katashi could have left early, because he was nowhere to be found. Visibly wilting at this, you approached your shoe locker, planning on leaving some of your textbooks behind before going to club, and froze. Sitting
Oh my
inside your shoe
gosh.
locker was Katashi's completed bento box. There was a small note sitting on top of the box, and you
Oh,
beamed, grabbing it. Maybe this wouldn't be so hard after all, and maybe your previous dream about exchanging cute notes with him would be realized after all. You
no.
opened it up.
Don't
Don't say it.
don't do this again. Stop it. No.
Damn it. How could you have thought for even a second that this wouldn't be difficult? You wanted to smush the note in your hand, and as you looked up at Hana's sympathetic gaze, you could almost hear Benzai Tensama's voice in your head.
You didn't really think it would be that easy, did you?
You smirked to yourself. No, maybe it didn't go so well, but at least one positive thing came out of this. He knew which shoe locker was mine, you grinned at Hana. In most schools, students' names would be printed on their lockers, but in an effort to stop bullying and subsequently love letters too, the school instead assigned each student an ID number, and that number was emblazoned on the locker instead. Of course, if someone paid attention, they would easily be able to find someone's shoe locker just by seeing them there. But that meant that Katashi had been paying attention to you. Oh, is that the end of the chapter already?
It is the end of the chapter. This chapter's a little short. The next one will be longer. Oh my god, Knightley, do you want to record the next one immediately?
Oh my god, you know what? I'm already in the mood. I love the narration. Let's do it.
I'm so in love. Okay. And that's the end of the chapter. Oh my gosh, I have to read the script. I hope you had fun.
Okay.
My god, I fucking did. Oh my god, I'm the fucking high schooler again. Anyway, next time we'll be
Me
reading
too.
chapter 6, A Drama Queen. Don't forget that you can read the story on your own. It's linked in the description, as well as links for Knightley and I's social media. And Knightley, any last words?
No, I'm gonna bye.
Bye.